Uh, I obviously am going to have to make a qualifier on this to everybody that's ever served in the military, that ever sacrificed their life on behalf of the left-hand path of Set An. Okay, so obviously because my own father was injured pretty good, having taken a 20 millimeter fuselage from a Japanese Zeke, right, serving in the U.S. military, believing that he was working for the good guys against the bad guys when the bad guys control all sides of the game, because that's their game, which is an AI war game. Star Wars are AI war gamers, which is AI integration technology, cyborgs using androids, machines to carry out their dirty work, right? So you have guys like, you're never going to see a Rothschild out in the middle of an Indian band on a horseback, right, with a spear or a bow and arrow, willing to put his ass out on the line first because he cares about everybody behind him, which means if I'm going to go into battle, I'm going down there first. That's a brave warrior. Rothschild is not a brave spiritual warrior. Okay? These guys that sit behind their desks and their ivory towers are what we used to call cyberpunks. Okay? Which means they hire mercenaries to do their bidding for them, and they do that across the universal and galactic terrain. Okay? They're cowards. Most everybody knows what a yellow coward is, right? It means they're afraid to lead the charge, because then if they get hit, they go down first. But what that does is that they get the loyalty of everybody in the back, which means they'd be more than happy to go to bat for you because you have the love and the honor and the humility to go first. You're not ever going to find a four-star general out there leading the cavalry charge. That's the one that does that. Okay, which is the law of one, which is the law of spheres, which is what love is, and that's what the law is. Okay, now an example of that would be when I was in the wildland firefighting profession, I realized, and I have the great blessing of being able to work others, that when you got a 20-man firefighter crew and you're going into an area where you have fire tornadoes, I felt this myself, that I'm not sending anybody in front of me. I'm going to go first. And that comes through the experience that you have and being able to read the terrain, because you know how to communicate with the spirals, which are the spirit, because you have a spirit of fire within you. That means that my spirit of fire within me, which includes the spirit of the water, the spirit of the wind, the living spirit of who I am with my mirror, can communicate with the spirit of fire. And real Indian spiritual warriors know that. And I knew when I had the great blessing to work with him. His name was Louis Yazzie, who was a Navajo code talker. So you sort of get the picture when you understand when people are joining the military, because I knew this when my father put me in a military academy when the draft was coming out during the Vietnam War. You are not going to violate my free will and use my soul, my consciousness, my energy, and my spirit to put a uniform on and be treated like crap in order to be a trained killer on behalf of cowards. Okay? That's the truth of it. Okay? So this is one of the reasons when I realized when you get into the whole scheme of those that have served in the military, they've got to learn their history of how they arrived at the point where they became enlisted or went to enlist in the military to begin with. Okay, what was their motivation? What was their purpose? What was their energy purposed for? And now you get into what they know and what they didn't know. And if there was anybody that did a better job than I know of, would have been Noam Chomsky. So how come people that were willing to enlist in the military in the 90s weren't learning from Noam Chomsky what he was already telling everybody from the 1960s and 70s, if you didn't already have all the history from all the wars that preceded it? Which means, how could they not be aware of the fact that on this planet they're running war machines? Machines. Right? So now you get into the AI integration end of things. full military spectrum dominance. The X dominance, the X-Men Geek Squad, the Nanotech Squad, the Cybernetic Squad, the Cyborg Squad, the Borg Cube Ship side of things. Right? Yeah. So you can understand what the future looks like.